We're off.
We're ready. All right. We're going to call the budget meeting today for Williamson County Budget Committee of May 4th, 2020.
Get Patrick down here.
Hey, Paul, you're muted, Paul.
There we go. How's that? And you can hear me now. Very good. Thank you. All right. Hopefully everybody can hear me. It's 4:30. We will call the Williamson County Budget Meeting of May 4th, 2020 together to order. And let me read the statement again. This meeting is being held pursuant to Executive Order number 16 of the Governor of the State of Tennessee. As such, all members of the committee must be able to hear me and each other. We will take the roll right after this statement. If you cannot hear the other members, please notify me immediately. All votes will be done by roll call. This meeting is available to the public on Public Access TV and is streaming live on YouTube. Looking at the list, looks like everyone is here, so I will call the roll. Commissioner Herbert.
Herbert here.
Commissioner Morton. Commissioner Morton. All right, now we'll have Chad Morton is absent at this point. Commissioner Sturgeon.
Present.
Mr. Sturgeon is present. Mayor Anderson.
Mayor Anderson present.
Commissioner Webb is present. Is that you, Commissioner Morton? Okay. I haven't heard from Commissioner Morton. Let me remind everyone, please mute your microphone so we don't have the feedback. And we hear hammering on something. We don't have any minutes for the meetings. We will have those hopefully next week. We do have transfers. We have one that is deferred from last week. Do we have someone from the Clerk and Master's office online with us?
Yes, sir. This is Elaine Beeler.
All right, thank you. So we're going to start with that one that was deferred from last week. This is a transfer of $1,000 for an assistant to overtime pay. Do I have a motion for approval? Let me go through, Jeff, unless I'm wrong. We've already put this on the floor. We've deferred it. So we have this on the floor. I believe Commissioner Herbert had a question. Commissioner Herbert, you want to ask your question?
Yes, my question is, why are we transferring money for overtime when the courts are shut down right now?
Do you want me to answer that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. If you look at the details of my report, or of my budget, you'll see that prior overtime earlier in the year gave me a shortfall of about $227, I believe. So I was transferring money to get my line item straight. I also transferred additional money because it's just from my part-time to my or to the assistance to that line item. Because if we can start having court again, say in June or even the end of May, I anticipated some long days because we haven't had court since March. So I was just anticipating not having to do another transfer in case we did have some overtime, some long days during the last month of the year.
Commissioner Herbert?
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Any other questions on this transfer? Hearing none, ready to vote. Commissioner Herbert?
Herbert, aye.
Commissioner Morton, have you logged in yet?
I've logged in. I can hear everything you've been saying. Can you hear me yet?
We can hear you. All right, so we'll mark you as present. And how do you vote on this transfer?
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Sturgeon?
Sturgeon, aye.
Thank you. Mayor Anderson?
Aye. Anderson.
Mr. Webb votes aye. That transfer passed unanimously. I think everyone has gotten all their transfers that Jamie sent out today. Is that correct? You're welcome. Thank you. I failed to mention, I hope everyone survived the storm last night. Since I was muted, I didn't hear that, but my power is off about 14 hours, so I'm glad we got it back. Thanks to all the hard work of those folks out there in the storm. So next item up is a transfer from the Nina, the budget director in the finance department, for $100. Do I have a motion for approval?
Herbert, motion to approve.
Thank you. And a second?
Sturgeon, second.
Thank you. Any questions on this line item? Hearing none, ready to vote. Commissioner Herbert?
Herbert, aye.
Commissioner Morton?
Morton, aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Sturgeon?
Sturgeon, aye.
Thank you. Mayor Anderson?
Anderson, aye.
And Commissioner Webb votes aye. That passed unanimously. Next transfer up is from the sheriff's office for $1,400 for replacing HEPA filters in the detention center. Do I have a motion for approval?
Herbert, motion to approve.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Sturgeon, second.
Thank you. Any questions on this line item? Seeing none, ready to vote. Commissioner Herbert, how do you vote?
Herbert, aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Morton?
Morton, aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Sturgeon?
Sturgeon, aye.
Thank you. Mayor Anderson?
Anderson, aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Webb votes aye. Passes unanimously. That is all the transfers I have. Is that correct? So we're going to go on to the resolutions now.
Chairman
for-
Lamb,
Yes, ma'am.
sorry to interrupt. But, on the original transfer that you all voted to defer last time,
Yes.
did you get a motion to reconsider and vote on that before you just voted on it?
My note says that we put it on the floor last time and then we had a deferral. So it was already on the floor, it was deferred. Unless Jeff says we need to start over.
It was deferred to a specific date, so you had the original motion on the floor.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you. That's what I thought, but hey, thanks for asking. I want to do it right. All right, we're going to the resolutions now. Resolution 5-20-1, a resolution appropriating and amending the 2019-20 solid waste sanitation budget by $550,000. Revenues to come from unappropriated solid waste sanitation fund balance and tipping fees. So I have a motion for approval.
Herbert, motion to approve.
Thank you. And a second?
Sturgeon, second.
Thank you. Nina, do you want to tell us about that? Or I see it, Nancy's on the line.
Do you want me to talk?
Go ahead.
All right, this is there's 350,000. That part is coming from the unappropriated solid waste fund balance. That's to cover leachate treatment and disposal for the rest of the year. We are currently, since the July 1 of this fiscal year through April, we're 10.3 inches above average for rainfall, which rainfall translates directly into leachate when it flows through garbage. So if it turns into leachate, then I'm required to handle it. So that 350,000 is to cover that for the rest of the year. The 200,000 from tipping fees is to cover the class 1 garbage that is going to the waste management landfill in Camden. We have had approximately an 18% increase in volume this year, as well as a 4.5 increase in our contract. So the expense is actually offset by corresponding revenue, though.
Okay, that sounds good. Does anyone have a question of Nancy regarding this resolution? Seeing none, ready to vote? If you're in favor, please vote aye. Commissioner Herbert?
Herbert, aye.
Commissioner Morton?
Morton, aye.
Commissioner Sturgeon?
Sturgeon, aye.
Mayor Anderson?
Anderson, aye.
Commissioner Webb votes aye. Thank you. Thank you, Nancy. Next up is Resolution 5-20-2, resolution appropriating and amending the 2019-20 Parks and Recreation budget by $62,284.88. Revenues to come from donations. So I have a motion for approval.
Herbert, motion to approve.
Thank you. And a second?
Sturgeon, second.
Thank you. Who have we got here to discuss? Nina or someone from Parks? Not hearing from one. Does anyone on the budget committee have a question? Maybe we can get an answer. We got a specific question. It looks pretty straightforward. Anyone have any questions? Hearing none, ready to vote? All those in favor of 520-2 signify when I call your name. Commissioner Herbert, how do you vote?
Herbert, I.
Thank you. Commissioner Morton?
Morton, aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Sturgeon?
Sturgeon, I.
Thank you. Mayor Anderson?
Anderson, I.
Thank you. Commissioner Webb votes aye. That passed unanimously. Next up is Resolution 5-20-3, resolution appropriating amending the 2019-20 Parks and Recreation Department budget by $46,000. The revenues to come from participant fees. Do I have a motion for approval?
Herbert, motion to approve.
Thank you. And a second?
Sturgeon, second.
Thank you. Anyone here to discuss this line item, this resolution? Any member of the committee have a question? Hearing none, we're ready to vote. Commissioner Herbert, how do you vote?
Herbert, I.
Thank you, Commissioner Morton.
Morton, aye.
Thank you, Commissioner Sturgeon.
Sturgeon, I.
Thank you, Mayor Anderson.
Anderson, I.
Thank you, Commissioner Webb votes aye, passes unanimously. Next up is Resolution 5-20-4, resolution amending the 2019-20 Highway Department budget, appropriating up to $147,646.80 from auctioned equipment, revenues to come from sale. Do I have a motion for approval?
Herbert, motion to approve.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Sturgeon, second.
Thank you. Anyone have a question about this or anyone have any item to discuss? Again, it looks pretty straightforward. Seeing none, ready to vote. Commissioner Herbert, how do you vote?
Herbert, I.
Thank you. Commissioner Morton?
Morton, aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Sturgeon?
Sturgeon, I.
Thank you. Mayor Anderson?
Anderson, I.
Thank you. Commissioner Webb votes aye, passes unanimously. Next up is Resolution 5-20-5, resolution amending the 2019-20 Highway Department budget and appropriating up to $267,630.53 for paving expenses, revenues to come from state aid program. Do I have a motion for approval?
Herbert, motion to approve.
Thank you. And a second.
Sturgeon, second.
Thank you. Is there any comments or questions from anyone on the Budget Committee regarding this resolution? Seeing none, ready to vote. Commissioner Herbert, how do you vote?
Herbert, I.
Thank you. Commissioner Morton?
Morton, aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Sturgeon?
Sturgeon, I.
Thank you. Mayor Anderson?
Anderson, I.
Thank you. Commissioner Webb votes aye, passes unanimously. Next up is Resolution 5-20-6. Resolution authorizing the county mayor to enter into a contractual agreement between the state of Tennessee and Williamson County for pass-through federal funding to subsidize emergency management. Do I have a motion for approval?
Herbert, motion to approve.
Thank you. Second.
Sturgeon, second.
Thank you. Discussion or any questions? Would have any questions or we've got I think we got extra information today from Jamie on this one. Hearing none, ready to vote? Commissioner Herbert, how do you vote?
Herbert, I.
Thank you. Commissioner Morton?
Morton, aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Sturgeon?
Sturgeon, I.
Thank you. Mayor Anderson?
Anderson, I.
Thank you. And Commissioner Webb votes aye. 520-6 passes unanimously. Next one up is Resolution 5-20-7, resolution appropriating and amending the 2019-20 Health Department budget of $1,516, revenues to come from donations. Do I have a motion?
Herbert, motion to approve.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Sturgeon, second.
Thank you. Anyone have any questions about this item? Hearing none, ready to vote. Commissioner Herbert, how do you vote?
Herbert, I.
Thank you. Commissioner Morton?
Morton, aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Sturgeon?
Sturgeon, I.
Thank you. Mayor Anderson?
Anderson, I.
Thank you. Commissioner Webb votes aye, passes unanimously. Next up is resolution, and I think my number is right. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. Resolution 5-20-9, resolution to authorize the county mayor to seek grant funds from the state of Tennessee governor's local government support grants. Do I have a motion for approval?
Herbert, motion to approve.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Sturgeon, second.
Thank you. Anyone want to discuss this item, or does anyone on the budget committee have a question?
Mr. Chairman, this is Christy Ransom. If I could just point something out.
Okay,
You all should have received a revised attachment to your amendment by email today from Jamie.
Yes,
Got
we
the
did.
resolution filed. Well, one of the projects, we had to swap one of the projects out that's listed under public safety. It's the same amount, but it's a different project, and the resolution has to be approved with the projects incorporated into it. So, and I can answer any questions that you may, or can try to answer any questions that you may have about the resolution.
Christie, you're one resolution ahead. I think we're on 527, aren't we, Paul?
520-9.
Excuse me?
So I think, and Christie, the dollar amount is the same, $2,297,010. But it's just.
Correct.
And
It was
what,
just a project type that was swapped out. In fact, it's the same amount of money for the project. They were both $250,000.
and so everybody is clear, is it at in the middle of the page, we're taking out the ag part generator replacement, and we're putting the Office of Public Safety replacement. Is that the change? And the only
That's
change?
correct. That's the
Does
correct.
everyone see that? If you didn't get that, Jamie sent that out today. So make that change. I don't think that's an amendment or anything, is it, Jeff? It's just back up to the resolution? Christie, you can answer that. You're an attorney. That's right. All we're doing is backing up the resolution. We're not changing other than the backup number. So I don't think we amend anything. All right. Anyone on the budget committee have a question of Christie or the mayor or anyone else?
I have a question.
Go ahead, Commissioner Sturgeon.
Yeah, in the body of the resolution, it states that eligible projects would be in hardware upgrades, capital maintenance, utility systems upgrades, road projects, public safety, and COVID-19 response. But then I don't think we have, I just want to confirm, we don't have any projects for COVID-19 response?
That's correct, Commissioner Sturgeon. It's our understanding that there may be some additional funds that may be allocated for that. And so we wanted to not include that in this grant resolution and save that for any future funding that's COVID-19 specific.
Okay, thank you, Christie.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone else have a question? If not, ready to vote? Commissioner Herbert, how do you vote?
Herbert, aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Morton?
Morton, aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Sturgeon?
Sturgeon, aye.
Thank you. Mayor Anderson?
Anderson, aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Webb votes aye. Resolution 520-9 passes unanimously. We don't have a 10 in this group, so next one up is Resolution 5-20-11. Resolution to establish an occupational safety and health program, devise rules and regulations, and to provide for a director and the implementation of such program. Do I have a motion for approval?
Herbert, motion to approve.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Sturgeon, second.
Thank you. And does anyone have any comments, or do we have questions?
Wayne Franklin should be on there, Paul.
Okay. Wayne, do you have any comments on that, or members of the budget committee, do you have a question?
Yeah, I would like an explanation on why we're coming with this resolution. I'm not real clear on why we're all of a sudden establishing an occupational safety and health program.
Wayne, can you answer that?
Yes, Commissioner Sturgeon, the wording is to devise a plan, but this is just a resubmittal of a plan that we've had in place as far I know for 18 years. We have to refile it with the state occasionally to update our location list and just to continue our reinforcement that we provide a safe working environment for our employees, give them chance for feedback if they have any concerns about their job site safety, and that we will comply with the Tennessee Department of OSHA rules and regulations. It's just reconfirming an existing plan.
Thank you, Wayne.
Yeah, thanks, Wayne. Thank you. No, I understand.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Ready to vote? Commissioner Herbert, how do you vote on Resolution 5-20-11?
Herbert, I.
Thank you. Commissioner Morton?
Morton, aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Sturgeon?
Sturgeon, aye.
Thank you. Mayor Anderson?
Anderson, I.
Thank you. Commissioner Webb votes aye. Resolution 520-11 passes unanimously. Next up is Resolution 5-20-12, resolution authorizing the Williamson County Mayor to grant 2 easements to Atmos Energy Corporation for the installation of a pipeline and related appurtenances. Do I have a motion for approval?
Herbert, motion to approve.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Sturgeon, second.
Thank you. Anyone have any questions or is there any comments on this resolution? Hearing none, ready to vote? Commissioner Herbert, how do you vote?
Herbert, I.
Thank you. Commissioner Morton?
Morton, aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Sturgeon?
Sturgeon, aye.
Thank you. Mayor Anderson?
Anderson, I.
Thank you. Commissioner Webb votes aye. Resolution 520-12 passes unanimously. Next up, Resolution 520-13, resolution accepting the donation of a 2013 Chevrolet Silverado truck on behalf of Williamson County Animal Center. I have a motion for approval.
Herbert, motion to approve.
Thank you. Does I have a second?
Sturgeon, second.
Thank you. Any questions or comments on this item? Andrea's on the line if you have a question. Hearing none, ready to vote? Commissioner Herbert, how do you vote on Resolution 520-13?
Herbert, I.
Thank you. Commissioner Morton?
Morton, aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Sturgeon?
Sturgeon, aye.
Thank you. Mayor Anderson?
Anderson, I.
Thank you. Commissioner Webb votes aye. Resolution 520-13 passes unanimously. Next up is Resolution 520-14, resolution accepting donation of a vehicle to the Sheriff's Office and authorizing the execution of all documents to obtain ownership of the vehicle. Do I have a motion for approval?
Herbert, motion to approve.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Sturgeon, second.
Thank you. We have the sheriff on the line. If anyone has any questions, anyone have any questions of the sheriff regarding this resolution? Seeing none, ready to vote. Commissioner Herbert, how do you vote on Resolution 520-14?
Herbert, I.
Thank you. Commissioner Morton?
Morton, aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Sturgeon?
Sturgeon, aye.
Thank you. Mayor Anderson?
Anderson, I.
Thank you. Commissioner Webb votes aye. Resolution 520-14 passes unanimously. Next is Resolution 520-15, resolution authorizing the Williamson County Mayor to execute a lease agreement for improved real property located at 118 Battle Avenue, Franklin, Tennessee. Do I have a motion for approval?
Herbert, motion to approve.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Sturgeon, second.
Thank you. Have any questions or comments on 520-15? Hearing none, ready to vote. Commissioner Herbert, how do you vote?
Herbert, I.
Thank you. Commissioner Morton?
Morton, aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Sturgeon?
Sturgeon, aye.
Thank you. Mayor Anderson?
Anderson, I.
Thank you. Commissioner Webb votes aye. Resolution 520-15 passes unanimously. Next is Resolution 520-16, a resolution authorizing the Williamson County Mayor to enter into a lease agreement with the Transportation Management Association Group for the old Highway Department building. Do I have a motion for approval?
Herbert, motion to approve.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Sturgeon, second.
All right. Do we have any comments or any questions from the Budget Committee or anyone else? Any questions?
This is Herbert. Are we
Yes.
getting paid any rent for this or is this free?
Who can answer that one?
They do pay rent of $45,050.
Thank you.
That's per year, right, Nina? Nina, is that $45,050 annually or over the term of the lease?
I think that's annually, but I can double
Okay.
check.
Okay,
Oh, it is
Yes.
annual.
annually, all right. $45,050 annually. Thank you. Any other questions? Ready to vote on Resolution 520-16? Commissioner Herbert, how do you vote?
Herbert, aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Morton?
Morton, aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Sturgeon?
Sturgeon, aye.
Thank you. Mayor Anderson?
Anderson, aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Webb votes aye. 520-16 is approved unanimously. We have a late filed resolution, does not have a number on it yet, do we, Diane? We don't have a number yet, do we, Diane? I'll assume no. I'll read the resolution. Resolution authorizing the Williamson County Mayor to execute a local agency project agreement with the State of Tennessee Department of Transportation for pedestrian underpass construction on State Highway Route 96 East, which is state project number 94011-3255-04, and appropriating and amending.
I can't hear you, Paul.
All right, we have somebody needs to mute their phone. Okay, I'll start over. This is the late filed resolution. I believe the interference has stopped. Late filed resolution. Resolution authorizing the Williamson County Mayor to execute a local agency project agreement with the State of Tennessee Department of Transportation for pedestrian underpass construction on State Highway Route 96 East, State project number 94011-3255-04, and appropriating and amending the 2019-20 Capital Projects Department budget of $531,948.77. Revenues to come from contributions. Do I have a motion for approval?
Herbert, motion to approve.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Sturgeon, second.
Thank you. Do we have any more information on this, or does anyone on the Budget Committee have questions? No questions? All right, ready to go. The next, ready to vote? All right, here we go. Mr. Herbert, how do you vote on this resolution?
Herbert, aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Morton?
Morton, aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Sturgeon?
Sturgeon, aye.
Thank you. Mayor Anderson?
Anderson, aye.
Thank you. Mayor Webb votes aye. That one passes unanimously. I don't have any other resolutions unless I've missed one. So am I correct, Diane and Nina?
That's correct.
All
Paul,
right, do we have a mayor's update, please?
Paul, if I'm going to transfer my update to Todd Horton to give you all a snapshot of the weather we had last night, and he can give you some Williamson County counts also on the COVID. Let that be my report because I know you're all busy. Todd?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm sure many of you, whether you had impact yourself or whether your neighbors had impact, realized that the storms caused widespread damage across Williamson County, dropping a number of trees, a number of power lines, phone lines, and other damages to structures. We did have one home with significant damage as a tree went through the roof of the home. We've had several other outbuildings, sheds that caught fire, gas station that lost its awning, a number of other minor impacts from trees on houses. Unfortunately, the county did suffer one fatality as a result of the storm. A firefighter with the Spring Hill Fire Department was out in his neighborhood and a tree fell and struck him in the head. He succumbed to his injuries. So our thoughts and our prayers are certainly with the Spring Hill Fire Department and the men and women there, and also the first responders who responded to that call to treat one of their own. So continue to remember them. We had over 100 roadway hazards, a number of other impacts. Our sheriff's department was out in full force with chainsaws, clearing roadways of trees to enable other emergency services and utility companies to reach the destinations to make the repairs that they needed to make. Certainly our utility companies, our emergency management agency, our other law enforcement partners, fire and EMS, all working hand in hand, as well as our Williamson County Highway Department, who worked feverishly through the night to help push debris out of the roadways and spent most of the day, and I'm sure maybe even still, clearing roadways. We have another storm system that is scheduled to move in this afternoon. While it's natural for us to go outside and to begin picking up sticks in our yard, let's please remember to look up into the trees because there may be broken limbs and other things that are suspended that may catch you unawares with a slight breeze and drop those. So just please be careful. Please stay weather aware and watch for forecast changes. There is an increased risk of tornadoes tonight. There is certainly an increased risk of 70 to 75 mile an hour winds, much like we experienced last night. And with the rain and saturation of the ground that we've already had, trees and other obstacles may be uprooted more easily with winds tonight based on what was sustained last night. Last night, as well as the storm moved through, our Murray County 911 system went down, and Murray County transferred all of their 911 calls to Williamson County, which, in addition to the calls that we have, were a significant overload for our system, as well as a lot of the 911 calls from Metro Nashville were being answered by Brentwood and Williamson County 911. And we have a number of 911 lines coming into our facility, but because of the volume of calls, a number of our calls were rolling to the city of Brentwood as well. And so I just commend all of those that were engaged in that activity to ensure that help was dispatched to the sources of trouble that were needed. And we continue to, Murray County is back online. They came back online early this morning. We continue to support them. We delivered radios to them last night to be able to sustain them through the storm event. I believe we still have 3 radio tower generators that are still on generator power at this time, but the system is functioning and has remained consistent throughout the storm event. As the storm actually came at a good time for us, if there is such a thing, where we had basically a shift change occurring in our 911 center. So we had about 14 dispatchers on duty to be able to mitigate this incident and to try to at least keep up with the volume of calls. So we're thankful to our citizens for cooperating with us last night as many roads were closed and traffic had to be diverted. And we just encourage you all again to be safe and watch out for the storms that are approaching tonight. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Todd. And that just goes to say that the planning that we've done for EMA and being ready to help our sister counties, both Davidson and Murray, is outstanding work by the whole team of EMA. Mr. Mayor, is there anything else from you?
Yes, I would like for transfer back to Todd to give that
Okay.
update on the COVID, please. That's possible. Can you hear me?
I can, Mr. Mayor. I apologize. I don't have those numbers in front of me. But our count for Williamson County is, I believe, close to 430, I believe is what our case count is close to, which is an increase, slight increase. Again, our fatalities remain the same at 9, and we've had a few more recover from the event. So we're running about 69% recovered from the virus thus far.
Thank you, Todd. Mr. Mayor?
Thank you. Thank you.
All right.
Yes, that's everything, Todd.
Go ahead, Mayor Anderson. You're there. We go.
There you go, Paul. Paul, that's it. Just that report's enough. Thank you.
All right, I have those numbers, Mayor. I think most of the commissioners are calling into the 3 o'clock briefing and have those numbers, but if not, I have them here. Somebody wants to contact me. All right, a reminder that we have a meeting tomorrow. This will be the schools item, and that budget has been sent out to everyone. If you don't have it, check with Diane or Jamie to get a copy of it. We'll be discussing the schools tomorrow at 3:30, and then we'll have another meeting at Thursday at 3:30, and then next Thursday, the 14th at 3:30. Is there any other business for the Budget Committee today, May 4th?
This is Commissioner Herbert. What about our Monday night meeting? What's the status of it?
That'd be up to Mayor Anderson to answer that, please.
Commissioner, we are sending out the budget packet probably tomorrow. And in that information, if you're talking about it, it's going to be electronic. We are not coming into our office at this point because it'd be a large group break the state guidelines. So at this point, we'll have the Monday night County Commission meeting at 7 o'clock.
Commissioner Herbert, any follow-up?
I guess I'm just a little concerned of how long it'll be if you have to go to each commissioner to get their vote.
And follow up with that, Mr. Chairman, that's exactly what we will do. Tonight, it took us 31 minutes to complete that. So I would say if we're on a roll and and Commissioner Little, running the chairman of that ship, can keep it going. I would expect an hour and a half to 2 hours, about what we normally do if we're in session, because it is a short agenda.
And the roll call is required by the executive order allowing them to do an electronic meeting, so we don't have any choice on that.
Thank you, Jeff.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anything else from the, yes, Commissioner Sturgeon, go ahead.
Yeah, I haven't gotten any emails on the May 7th meeting. I'm wondering what time it is, and if we can get Jamie to send me those emails at barb@votesturgeon.com.
All right, I'll give you the time. It's at 3:30 p.m. It will be electronic, and we'll have Jamie listening in. We'll resend the schedule for the 7th and the 14th, and the items we'll be looking at. On the 7th, we start off with solid waste, and then tomorrow we'll start off with just the 3 school items: the school budget, the central cafeteria, and the transportation. So that will be those for this week. Then on the 14th, we'll have the other 2 items. So I think Jamie can send that to you. That's Commissioners on the Budget Committee. If you don't have that information, please contact Jamie and Diane and get them to send that to you, please.
Okay.
Anything else this afternoon?
Did
Yes,
you
go
all,
ahead.
did you all get the school budget and related items for tomorrow? Everybody has those?
I have
Yes.
Commissioner Sturgeon says she doesn't have it.
No. I have it for tomorrow. I don't have
Okay.
it for Thursday.
Okay.
Okay.
We'll resend those, but you can also look at the Williamson County website, williamsoncounty-tn.gov. Just scroll down on the very front page under public notices on the calendar.
I know that there's a meeting, but I'm not getting the,
All of the documents are there as well. I'm just letting you know in case you wanted to preview them before we get them out.
oh, I got it. But I need the email that I use to do the WebEx, to log in to the meeting.
It's the same login as what you are tonight.
Oh, so I can go back to the button for any meeting and it'll take me, all the past ones for like May 4th and May 5th. If I
Right.
use those.
You don't have a WebEx invite for Thursday yet?
No, ma'am. No,
Okay.
because I needed sent. See, I'm out of town right now and I don't have my county laptop with me. So I need it sent to barb@votesturgeon.com.
Okay, we'll take care of it.
Thank you, Diane.
Yes, ma'am, you're welcome.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Anything else for the commissioners? Hearing none, then we are adjourned. We'll see you tomorrow at 3:30. Tomorrow at 3:30. Thank you and be safe tonight.
Thank you.